Hello there, everyone, and welcome to The Witch, Wife, and the Wish. This is a linear visual novel with only one ending that just looked really cool. It's about this guy whose wife, I think, lost her memories, and he goes into the forest to seek the help of a witch. I There's nothing that I love more than like a little fantasy story. You know what I mean? And this music, I love it. I love it. I love it. It's like equal parts spooky and beautiful. There also was not like a full screen option, so you're gonna see the the borders. Oops, I apologize about that because it's just play and credit. But let's just do it. How about? I'm Soul. I'm oh, full screen. Let's go. Oh my god, this is awesome. That was really cool. Okay. Once upon a time, there was a witch who lived in the middle of a forest. A small village was right outside the forest where the witch resided. And the villagers were very fearful of this wicked sorceress. This is so fucking cool! This little, oh my god, this sequence? Okay. It was said that the witch would curse any villager who dared venturing near her cottage. So no one dared coming close to the witch to confirm their superstitions. Rumors said that even the witch was cursed herself, but the witch had long forgotten what spell had been cast, if any, that would cause such rumor and gossip. Even so, the witch and the villagers continued living their lives as distant neighbors. Until one day, a brave young man from the village came to ask a favor of the witch for his ailing wife. Okay, look how cute. Okay. Charlotte. Ah, what a bright morning. My name is Charlotte. I'm a witch who lives in the middle of an enchanted forest. This forest is inhabited by all sorts of magical and mythical creatures, such as fairies, trolls, manticores, and sometimes even the fabled unicorn. I live in a small cottage right in the middle of the forest, a glade, which is an isolated part for me to conduct my potion brewing and other research on magic. To me, this cottage has been home my entire life, and I've lived here for as long as I can remember. It is a quiet way of life, but I appreciate the freedom of conducting my witchcraft in peace and solitude. A small village occupied the outskirts of the enchanted forest, and the townsfolk who lived there did not take I assume lightly, instead of likely, that I was a witch. Oh, that's so funny. They were frightened of me, so I started these rumors about myself so they could keep away from me and this forest. In a way, this was for the best, because I knew the dangers of the magical forest was something mere mortals could not come to cope. However, even I need to pay the bills, so I decided to open up a shop, a wish shop, for the villagers to come ask for my aid to fulfill their deepest desires. To them, asking a witch to grant their wish was like making a deal with the devil. However, I believe in fair compensation or price for every wish that has been asked, and never have I ever, nor will ever, grant a wish that has taken a life or bestowed tragedy on another soul. This morning, however, an unusual visitor arrived at my doorstep. My little canary, how are you this morning? I went over to the window where a little yellow bird with bright colored feathers like fire perched, looking outside. I called her my little canary, but she was in fact a phoenix bird, who looked like she'd already burst into flames and was just reborn when I found her just a week ago. Something tells me this bird was not just a mere phoenix, and this might not be her true form, so I decided to nurse the little bird and let her stay in my home for the meantime. While I began making my morning tea, I heard a knock on my door. Oh? It must be a customer. I opened the door, and there stood a young man standing right at my doorstep. He looked rather young, but old enough to venture into the enchanted forest to make his way to my witch's cottage. Could he be someone from the village? Why, hello. Are you from the village? My name is Charlotte. I'm a witch who can make any wish come true. You must be here for my services, young man. He was really quiet. You must have come a long way. I'm just about to make some tea. Why don't you come inside? He looked at the ground and turned his gaze away from me, looking a little unsure. Unless you're too afraid to enter the home of a wicked witch. I smiled mischievously. The young man did not seem phased, however. My name is Wesley. I'm here to ask you to help my wife. So, your wife has lost all memories of you, and you're here to ask me to grant your wish to cure your wife's amnesia and bring back all her memories? Yes. I don't know how it happened, or even why it happened, but you're my last hope to bring my wife back. It sounds like to me this isn't some illness done by natural causes. Something must have made your wife lose all her memories of you and only you. My feeling is that magic is involved. Like some sort of spell? Yes. I brought my cup of tea to my lips, taking a brief sip. Or a curse. Wesley stared at me in silence. Now, about payment. I can concoct a potion that temporarily... I can't give you anything. I've nothing of value since my wife has forgotten everything. I don't even have a home to go back to because my wife still lives in our house. I stared at him, surprised. You mean, you don't even have a place to stay? Wesley looked down, ashamed. No. I stared at the young man with pity. He had no home, no wife, and from what I can tell, no job. He looked like an absolute failure in society. That's such a roast. She's like, I feel so bad for you. You got no bitches, no money, no house. You're a loser. God damn. Have some decorum, how about? Still, I feel I could sense his true nature, that he wasn't just some deadbeat young man. There was something different about him, yet I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Why don't you stay here and work as my assistant? I have a spare room where you can stay, and while you work as my assistant, I can research why and how your wife has forgotten you. What do you say? Wesley turned his gaze away and back towards me again, hesitant. Can you really trust me, a stranger, coming to live at your home? I smiled, pleasantly surprised by his guard and concern. I'm the Wicked Witch of the Enchanted Forest. If I sense any danger, I will be sure to protect myself and my cottage. However, from what I can tell, you are not the kind of person who means to harm me. Wesley turned his gaze to the floor again, somewhat relieved. Then I humbly accept your offer to let me stay and become your assistant. The young man took a long sip from my tea. From your tea? You were drinking that. Anyway, a few days passed since Wesley became my assistant. He was a quiet fellow, but he got used to my place quickly, which was a little surprising. It wasn't long before he and I became quite friendly with each other, and by midweek, he started making coffee and breakfast at the table for us both in the mornings. Wait. Is she the wife? Do you think she's the wife? That would be a twist, wouldn't it? The fact that he, like, seemed super quiet and now he's all, like, friendly to her and stuff and, like, making them coffee and breakfast and... I'm just saying. That's my theory at the moment. We'll see. In my own private thoughts, I was very grateful to finally have an assistant for my research. So, tell me about your wife. What is her name? He smiled at me, as if he was waiting for me to ask this very question. I'd rather not say. Forgive me, but I'm afraid of telling you my beloved's name. You are a witch, after all, and I can't trust a sorceress with magic powers to curse others. Oh. It was a simple question, and he seemed very guarded whenever I brought up his wife. Still, his words stung because Wesley still had not come to trust me. I knew people from the village disliked my magic craft, but for some reason I thought that he would be different. It seems very clear to me that you love her dearly. Wesley paused as I said this. He was silent for a moment, contemplating his next words. She was the most beautiful person I had ever seen, not only physically, but in the deepest pits of her heart and being. To others, they merely called her average, but no one could have seen what I saw in her, the most beautiful soul to have walked this earth. I was speechless, hearing such passion in his voice. But now, she cannot even remember me, and I cannot bear to leave her. Wesley slumped down into the armchair as if defeated. Feeling compassionate, I bent down beside him and held his right hand in both of mine. I'm sure if she knew, she would appreciate everything you're doing. I'm sure that in her heart, she knows you still love her, and that she loves you back just the same. Another sting in my chest. There it is again, that same feeling in my heart. Why did it bother me so much that Wesley had already had someone whom he loved so dearly? Okay, 2 running theories. She's the wife, or it could... Hear me out. It could take a huge tonal shift, huge, and get, like, super dark really fast, and she ends up, like, making him fall in love with her or something, or, like, killing his wife or something. I'm just saying, it could go either way. The tone of this game is very, like, sweet and, like, light to me, but I'm just saying it would be crazy if it took that hard tonal shift into dark. That would be sick. But I don't think that's gonna happen. But it's just a theory. Anyways, it was a bright and sunny morning. I had just gotten out of bed, ready to go to the main room to where Wesley had prepared breakfast, when I suddenly heard a commotion outside. What are you doing here? I'm here, checking up on you, and how you're doing. Go back to the village. You're not needed here, and I can't have you interfering. At least let me see how you're doing with the witch. What is going on out there? I decided to interrupt them. Oh, hello. Who's this? Are you a friend of Wesley's? Gotta say, love this character design. I love how monochrome she is in her spooky eyes. I'll say that. Hello. Charlotte, this is Emma. She's from the village. She used to be a maid for me and my wife. Oh, so this person is a friend of Wesley's. I immediately became very guarded, as I did not want to trespass on any boundaries between Wesley and his family, especially since this person must have been very close to his dear wife. Charmed, it is a pleasure to make any acquaintance of Wesley's close family and friends. My name is Charlotte. I'm the infamous witch who lives in this enchanted forest. Hello, Charlotte. Please, come in for some tea. We were just about to have breakfast, but now that we have a guest, I'd be happy to serve biscuits and tea as your hostess. So, that's how Wesley started living here. While I research any possible findings on how to fulfill his wish, he's helping me with my research and my day-to-day work. I see. Now, if you excuse me, I'll tidy things up in the kitchen and leave you two to your conversation. At least both of them are inside now, in the comforts of my cozy cottage. I headed into the kitchen quietly, deciding to leave them both to their privacy to let them continue their small chatter before I had interrupted them earlier. How's your wife? She seems to have forgotten again. You know that your wife probably meant for you to find another, so you wouldn't be wasting your life away with someone like her. She's no good for you. Never. I'll never leave her for as long as I'm alive. There it is again. What'll happen if her condition gets... Whose? His? I don't know, someone's condition gets worse. The cycle will just keep repeating until one of you is dead. We will figure it out together. We? Is it really we? Or is it just you, alone? Night had fallen. Wesley's guest had left by noon. Oh my god, why is it such a hard sentence? I think Wesley's guest. Those are just two hard words to say next to each other. Had left by noontime earlier today. I had retired to my bedroom and was drifting off to sleep. As my eyes finally closed shut, surrendering myself to slumber, I couldn't help but feel someone enter my bedroom. What are we doing? I felt something press softly against my forehead and felt a gentle caress on my cheek. Yes, it was a tender touch, but as quickly as they came, they were gone. For the rest of that night, all I could dream about was Wesley, and how he was out of my reach because he was already married to somebody else. To his wife. She's gotta be the wife, bro. He would not do that if she wasn't. That confirmed it for me. Whatever. Another day. I was about to head to my daily research when suddenly Wesley collapsed in the middle of the room. Ugh. I'm sorry, that sound effect. I was not expecting a coughing man sound effect. I'm so sorry. Boy, oh boy. He started coughing in the most horrible way, with the most frightening sound. Then, in the middle of his horrible coughing fit, he finally vomited out the origin from within his chest. A mass of red mucus splattered on the floor. Red, bloodied mucus. Wesley, are you coughing up blood? Get away from me. He shoved me away as I tried to get near him. I stumbled back, falling to the floor from the force of his push. Wesley, are you ill? We have to do something to help. Don't touch me. Immediately, I felt myself froze stiff from the iciness in his words. He glared at me with the coldest stare, as if to say he despised me trying to help him. I'm fine. You don't have to concern yourself with me. He rose, getting up from the floor. I felt too frightened to move, so I stayed on the ground, watching him as he took some napkins from a nearby table to start wiping up the blood from the floor. Just keep researching a way to cure my wife. If you try to help me with my sickness, you'll just make everything worse. Wesley then turned to stare at me with the coldest glare. Stay away from me. My chest felt like it was stabbed by 1,000 knives from the way he said those words. I blinked, trying to hold back tears. Okay. I headed down into the basement of my cottage, where my laboratory was kept below, with my magic cauldron and alchemy potions. I stood there alone, thinking. All this time, Wesley had a fatal illness. For some reason, I felt that if something hadn't been done, he would probably die, and soon. Inside myself, I suddenly felt something grow inside of me, a determination I haven't felt before, a fire within me. I dove into my research on finding a cure for Wesley. One way or another, I was going to make sure he would live. For days I've researched, but to no avail. Sneakily, I asked Wesley questions about his illness to see if I could get more information on a clearer diagnosis, but Wesley refused to give me any answers. That did not deter me. One way or another, I was going to save him. His condition only continued to get worse. I felt I was running out of time. Before, his coughing fits only happened once every 2 days. Now he frequently spat up blood almost thrice daily, and if we're lucky, only once in a day. As the days stretched on, he looked paler and paler. In my heart, I was fretting with worry. If this continued, what would become of him? Something had to be done, even if it might cost me everything. Okay. Another theory. What if That is his wife, and both of them were somehow cursed. And it's either she doesn't remember him forever and they have to separate, or else he'll die. Like if she like how am I supposed to explain my thoughts? I can't I can't explain. Okay. So my theory is that he's like gravely ill, and if she saves him, then she'll never remember him, but he at least wants to have her remember him before he dies. I do you understand what I'm saying? I don't I don't know if anyone understands what I'm saying here. It's fine. A long time has passed since Wesley first started living together with me. Secretly, I had fully abandoned my initial goal of fulfilling his wish in order to find a way to save his life. Wesley had come to a point where he couldn't even stand on his own, and I had to help him up from his armchair every time. He had become so feeble and sickly that it only made me work harder to find a cure or miracle to prolong his life. However, my attempts proved unfruitful. One fateful evening, we were both sitting in the main room drinking tea before we retired for bed. Both of us were very quiet. I didn't dare say anything that would give myself away, because I was still keeping a secret from him that I had been researching a way to help Wesley restore his health. Then all of a sudden, he broke the silence. How's the progress on your research? Oh, it's coming along well. I may have found a lead as to why your wife's amnesia. I'm not talking about that research. I'm talking about the other one. What? What do you mean? You've stopped trying to find a cure for my wife, haven't you? I blinked, anxiously trying to keep up my facade. What? No, of course not. I'm still working on your wish, after all. You are my customer and my business. You're trying to find a cure for my illness now, aren't you? I was speechless. My words hung on the tip of my tongue, afraid to say anything in response to that. Wesley just sat there staring at me until he finally let out a deep, frustrated sigh. I told you not to bother with me. The more you try to help me, the more time you're wasting. My only concern is my wife's amnesia. Nothing else matters to me. There it is again, his wife. I felt another pang in my chest hearing him talk about her. No matter how hard I tried to help him, there was no room in his heart for me. All he could think about was his wife. After all, he came to my witch's cottage just to fulfill a wish for her. Why did I think there was any room in his heart for me? What was wrong with me? Was I really abandoning his wish so I could steal him away from his wife? Am I only trying to help Wesley to fulfill my own selfish desire so that his wife would never remember him and I would have Wesley to myself? Am I really that kind of person? I'm surprised it's taken this long for you. Last time, it took under a week before I had to start this all over again. I knew it. I forgot to say the thought in my head before, but I was thinking with my last theory that I could not explain coherently, that it's like a time loop, like a Groundhog's Day thing, where he keeps like dying over and over trying to get her to remember him. So I was right on that. I just didn't say it out loud. Please believe me. I swear to God I thought it. I just didn't say it. He looked at me, defeated but waiting for something. The way his eyes stared at me with an endearing sweetness of affection softened my inner turmoil. Do you still not know who my wife is, Charlotte? My mind blanked. Then suddenly something flashed in my head, completely taking me by surprise as a memory came back. Wesley was having a seizure on the floor, coughing up blood uncontrollably. I was holding him in my arms as he laid there in agonizing pain. Wesley, please hold on. I finally found a way to save you, but... Wesley looked at me in extreme pain, not only physically in his body, but the look on his face spelled out that he sensed something was about to happen. Charlotte, don't. I shook my head as tears streamed down both our faces. It was a small price to pay for him to live. I was thinking that also, like, just now as I was reading. I was like, I wonder if it was to save his life. But but he can only live if he stays away from her? Is that what's going on? I don't know. I can't lose you, Wesley. I'd rather you live a full and happy life than spend an eternity with me, a wretched witch. Go back to the village where all the other mortals live. Forget me and be happy. Oh. I felt my knees buckle, but Wesley, with what little strength he had, rose from his chair to catch me and prevent my fall. Did you remember something just now? Yes. I remember that night when it all began, when I cast that spell. Wesley held me close, and I hugged him back in an emotional embrace. How long has this been happening? Every time you started developing feelings for me, my illness would come back again. And then, when you finally remembered me, for only a moment, the spell would cause you to faint, and by the next morning, you would have forgotten again. How long do we have? I don't know. The last time you only lasted 5 minutes. And all this time, you were coming back to my cottage, pretending to be my customer? Wesley brushed back my hair, and a painful smile stretched in his lips. Yes. My eyes welled with tears. Oh, Wesley, Wesley squeezed me with what little strength he had. His arms crushed me, but I didn't mind. For now, and only just this moment, we were husband and wife again. I told you to go. To leave me. You know I can't do that. The tears spilled from my eyes as I began crying. I don't remember having told you this, but I must have, by now. I would do anything for you, even if it cost me everything. Because I've always loved. Suddenly I felt a blackness overtake me as I fell limp into Wesley's arms. Wesley's lips trembled as he held his wife in his arms, feeling the same sadness once again took hold of him. Slowly he could feel his strength coming back to him, as once more the spell had run its course, and his wife had forgotten him. I promise that no matter what it takes, someday I will break this curse, so we can be together again. I don't care if it takes an eternity. I won't give up on us. Ever. With his unconscious wife in his arms, he kissed her, making sure to savor this last moment before he left the witch's cottage, pretending to be a stranger to his wife once more. Ah, what a bright morning. My name is Charlotte. I'm a witch who lives in the middle of an enchanted forest, and I've lived here alone for as long as I can remember. I run a wish shop for the villagers to come ask my aid to fulfill their deepest desires. While I began making my morning tea, I heard a knock on my door. Oh? It must be a customer. The end. No! Be for real. For actually? It won't let me. This is it? Well, that was incredibly abrupt, and it doesn't even take me back to the... Oh my god. So I'll be honest, I don't exactly know how I feel about that. I like the vibe. I do love a good, like, time loop story. They don't always have to have, like, a happy ending, but I will say that felt very abrupt of just the end. And there wasn't even, like, a real, like, ending scene. I felt like it could have at least had, like, a end credit scene or something like that, you know? Like, something that wasn't so abrupt. I am not a huge fan of when games end abruptly like that. I like it to feel a little more, like, solid and fulfilling. But I feel like that's a small nitpick. That's just maybe a me thing. Otherwise, the story itself, I do really like. I loved that opening sequence with the art and the little scenes that was happening. That was really cool. I really, really liked that. That was awesome. I can tell that this was made with love. I really loved the art for it. The little sprites and stuff were awesome. I love that they're like little watercolor paintings. Really cute. I don't know. The abrupt ending really gets me. I've mentioned it in one of my other videos. I think my like games I played in 2023. I had a gripe, the very different game, by the way. I had a huge gripe with Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I finished like the main storyline of the game and there was no end credits, no finality to it, nothing. It literally like ended the storyline and then it immediately plopped you back into the game to be like, keep playing. And I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that. I would way rather have something like, I don't care that I had more quests to do and whatever. I'll go do them. But I need there to be this sense of completion, this sense of finality of like, look at all the time and work you put into playing this game and experiencing this story. You finished it, you know? Like a sense of accomplishment. That's it. A sense of accomplishment. And I fear that this game sort of has the same pitfall of not having a sense of accomplishment for finishing it because it was so abrupt. I just felt like there could have been a little more to it at the end. I'm sorry. Again, maybe that's just a me thing. You let me know if it's a you thing as well, but I don't know. It does take the game down a peg for me, unfortunately. But again, positives. The art sprites were really cool. That opening sequence was awesome. That was really cool. I do really like the storyline itself. I just think the ending could have been executed a little better. But otherwise, that's it. Let me know what you think if you had any thoughts on it. This game is free. I didn't mention that at the beginning, but it's a free game, so you can go ahead and play it for yourself if you would like. Recommend it to others if they're wanting just a short, linear, visual novel about a witch and her husband and being sad. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it, especially if you made it this far. If you did, why don't you go ahead and subscribe? If you did watch this whole thing, got to this point, and you aren't subscribed, what is happening? Why not just do it? You know what I mean? Just do it. All of my socials and everything will be down in the description, as well as a link to the game. If you'd like to follow me on anything or download the game yourself, that'll be all down there. Go ahead and like the video if you liked it, share it with everybody and everybody if you so choose. Anyways, that's really it. Thank you guys so much again, and I hope that you all have a good one.